next speaker, who is Karin Ericsson. Karin is a program specialist on gender equality at the Swedish International Development Corporation Agency, or Sida. Karin is going to speak to us about Sida's approach to mainstreaming gender and how this can be transformative. Karin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the invitation to this event. And yes, I will share with you about Sida's work with gender mainstreaming, and also share with you where we are in our learning process today of understanding how we can more efficiently integrate the gender equality work and work for climate change and a sustainable environment. So I work, we can go back, please. I just wanted to say first that I work as a program specialist with a team that is implementing Sida's strategy for global gender equality and women's and girls' human rights. And here at the Sida's headquarters in Stockholm, we are currently exploring and strengthening the knowledge exchange with our colleagues that work on climate change and environment, because we have seen and believe that this strengthened collaboration will create possibilities for better analysis that underpin the development of our strategies, and hopefully also open up for different kind of programming and other kinds of innovations that will bring different actors together. Because knowing that innovation happens when we do bring people with different experiences and knowledge together. So next one, please. So Sida's model for mainstreaming looks like this, and we have this in place to ensure a gender-sensitive assessment of program and project proposals, as well as it ensures that women's and girls, as well as men and boys' concerns, needs and experiences are part of implementation, monitoring and evaluation of programs and policies to ensure equality in the contributions and benefits from development efforts. And Sida also works with, promotes gender responsive budgeting. And I can say that 20% of Sida's total development cooperation is targeted, which it means that its main focus is on promoting gender equality. And 68% of Sida's total development cooperation is integrated. And Sida voluntarily reports the level of gender integration in both its climate finance and its biodiversity related support. And we do this to highlight the importance of gender equality in climate change and environmental work. And we hope to inspire and influence other donors to do the same. And in 2019, the level of gender integration in climate finance was climate finance support was approximately 84% and 90% in biodiversity related support. Sida also highlights the need to apply a gender transformative approach that actively examines, questions and challenges rigid gender norms and imbalances of power. And Sida also has an action plan in place for gender equality that, for example, state the need to increase funding for women's rights organizations. Next, please. And I mentioned that because we have seen in all the investment that Sida does in investing energy and resources to support gender responsive climate change and forest climate finance. We have seen that gender inequality is one of the main challenges to advance the environmental and climate change dimensions of sustainable development. And here we are now. We heard that Mario talked here in the beginning that we are in a new era. We see multiple crises coming together. And so here we learn and we have reflected, and I'm sure you recognize many people today talk about that we need a systemic approach. We need toward a transformational change, which is also the headline of this event. So then we need to ask ourselves, how do political, social, economical, and technological paradigms and structures transform from one state to another? How does this change occur? And what is our role in the process of transforming structures and paradigms that are creating climate change and environmental degradations, as well as gender inequalities and violations of women's and girls' rights? So what do we have in common? Coming from a gender equality perspective or climate change work, that what systems are the ones that needs to be changed, and this change, we know, needs to be deep and fundamental, so it disrupts the status quo and lasts over time. But the direction of the change needs to be defined. So how do we define our common transformational goals? Next, please. And please advise me when I have 1 minute left. As you might know, Sweden was the first country to adopt a feminist foreign policy in 2014, and it was to strengthen its implementation, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Sida developed a dedicated strategy for global gender equality in women's and girls' rights. And through this strategy, we have had the possibility to develop partnerships with global women's rights and feminist organizations, which has allowed us to support actions also involving men and boys in the work for gender equality and in addressing and transforming destructive masculine norms. And one such partner is Men Engaged Alliance. And with support from Sida, they are currently advancing work on developing a deeper understanding of boys' and men's multiple roles in climate change by conducting an analysis of masculinities in patriarchal systems that play a contributing role in perpetuating climate change. And by engaging in these partnerships, Sida increase our understanding of the relationship between gender justice and environmental justice. This has also meant that we are now collaborating more with colleagues working with climate change and environment. We also support the increased involvement of women's rights movement with indigenous women and their organizations. These organizations that Sida supports also identify and explain why and how we need to and can work with transformative system changes. Many actors from the feminist and women's rights movement focus on the root causes of climate change and environmental degradation and identify societal structures that have caused climate change and the environmental crisis, these being patriarchal structures, racism, and colonialism, arguing and showing that systematic human rights violation also cause and fuel environmental crisis.
Karin, sorry,
Yeah.
just to let you know that there's about 1 minute.
All right, so then we can go to the slide that says Sida supported climate change and forest protection initiatives, please. Next one. So engaging in the development of transformative and transformational systemic approaches, we're learning from the many climate change and forest protection initiatives that Sida supports. Climate change, environment, and biodiversity being highly prioritized areas of the Swedish government and Sida. And we are the fifth country. Sweden is the fifth largest contributor to the Green Climate Fund, and Sida has been very instrumental and actively engaged in developing this gender policy. And we have support to global and regional programs with the Forest and Farm Facility, which is promoting women's economical empowerment. And here I also want to highlight that Sida also recognizes and is learning from research that says that showing that promoting women's economical empowerment is not enough to shift unequal power relations. We need to combine different strategies. And in Asia and the Pacific region, we have an interesting strategy in place where we, for example, have worked together with an organization that's also here in the panel, WOCAN, Women Organizing for Change in Agriculture and Natural Resources, that was procured to provide expertise and hands-on support to environmental organizations to be able to actually mainstream gender into their forest climate projects. So finally, well, we have many conclusions that we have drawn from this, and this learning journey is to be continued. And we can see that in general terms, we need to combine having like revisiting the starting point to make sure that we look at what are the aspects that we need to work with to really reach a transformational change, both from an environmental perspective and a gender equality perspective. And then when we come to how we program, there are also many technical aspects to take into account. And here I think dialogue and networking, peer-to-peer knowledge exchange cannot be underestimated. There is so many knowledge with partners coming from different perspectives. So we really need to improve how we create the platforms, strengthen platforms for joint learning and programming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karin. Sida plays such a key role in moving this agenda forward, and its commitment to gender transformation. It's really a game changer. Thank you again.